So we talked about what ibadah is, and then why that was related to our creation. So we talked about purpose of creation from two perspectives. We talked about what it means for our purpose to do ibadah, and as we saw in riwayat, ibadah was explained in riwayat as ma'rifah. It's a way of gaining more ma'rifah of Allah in reality. And then we talked about it from the perspective of Allah. Why does Allah even create in the first place? And again, just to quickly sum that up, we talked about how Allah, because of His sifat, because of His kamal, because of that infinite perfection that He has, it would be bakhil, na'udhu billah, for Him to hold back and restrain Himself from giving out wujud to everything that can handle it. Anything that can be and is a mumkin al-wujud, Allah will give it wujud. Allah will give that existence. And part of that is why we have our creation, why we have free will, and then we use that free will to gain ma'rifah of Allah, to try to understand what Allah is, what perfection is, and what it means to be manifesting His names. So with all of that introduction aside, now we actually want to go into the salah and the parts of salah itself. So of course, where we have to begin is obviously with wudu. We cannot start talking about the salah unless we talked about wudu first. And what's interesting, and it's important for us to keep this in mind as well too, is technically speaking, salat we know is wajib. Praying we know is wajib, but technically speaking, wudu is not one of the wajibat. In very technical, legal, fiqhi terms, it's known as a muqaddama al-wajib, right?
Power off.
Paper towel, I put some water on it, and I just quickly wipe it. Now, that'll get it a little clean, but that's what we call a surface cleaning, right? It's not a deep cleaning. There's still going to be some dirt. it'll be a little bit cleaner than before, but not fully clean. Right? There's a difference between surface cleaning and deep cleaning. If I barely put any pressure there, some small amounts of dirt will get wiped up, but other pieces and other traces will still be there. Even if you use a vacuum, the same thing would happen too. Right? There's a proper way to use a vacuum. If you quickly kind of go back and forth really quickly, it'll pick up some crumbs and some dirt, but to properly use a vacuum, to properly pick up deeply seated, dirt, you have to take your time, go a bit slowly, and things like that. You have to put in some effort. So the amount of effort that we put in, or sometimes say in English, the amount of elbow grease that you put in, right? The amount of effort and power that you engage will be in proportion to how much is actually revealed. That inner beauty that exists within our own homes, our carpets, our counters, if I put in a bit more extra effort to clean, it becomes
Power off.
command from Allah and test whether you will obey Allah or not. This same principle extends out to nearly everything else. It's not having a deep philosophy. It's not looking at Irfani points. It's not even akhlaq necessarily. It's not all. It's not about having the right microphone set up. It's not about anything like that. It's about what? It's ahkam, simply. The biggest barrier for a lot of us is simple. We just don't follow the rules. We don't obey. And this issue of following ahkam, following the sharia, even that has multiple dimensions as well. There's multiple levels and tests as well too. The first one is this, and this is, I don't want to say the most obvious, but there is an ita'a bil ilm. or a la ita'a bil ilm, which is what? Is a person is not a mutti', they're not obeying, they don't obey Allah, but they know that they should. They have knowledge, they know that I know I should be praying, I know I should be fasting, I know that I shouldn't use certain language, I know all of this, I know that I have to perform wudu before salah, all of this stuff, but I don't feel like doing it and I don't want to do it. That's it. This, I mean, it sounds strange to, I'm sure, many of you over here, who this is not an issue for you, but think about maybe a lot of our kids sometimes, or maybe when we were growing up, this was our issue, is that we were told you have to do certain things, right? You have to perform wudu like this and then pray. And we just, I don't want to. I don't feel like it. Why do I have to do all of this? So we were at odds with Allah's rules. Simple. We were at odds with the Sharia. And a lot of Muslims were like this. Even if we go back, initially when the deen was being initially spread by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. As he was teaching the ahkam to the Arabs of that time, when he was mentioning all this stuff, for example, like sujood, he said that this is the way you have to perform sujood. He said, okay, fine, but that's not something that we Arabs do. I'm not going to put my head on the dirt in a way that other people will be above me like this, so that my backside is higher, my head is lower. No. I don't do that. Ya Rasulullah, you can tell me to do anything else, but this one I'm not doing. So they knew what the rule was, they knew the hukm. I mean, they had it from Rasulullah directly. It's not like they were rationalizing it, there was no scientific evidence, nothing like that. They just said, no, I know what it is, I don't want to do it. I don't like that. This is a block for people back then, and it's a block for a lot of us now too. There are certain things that we hear, that we read, I just don't want to do it. I don't like that. It's unbecoming of me, I don't feel like doing it. So water and wudu, in this sense, as an imtihan, as a test, as a fitna, what is it revealing? It's revealing an inner takabbur, kibr, arrogance, a little bit of kufr and shirk that exists within me. That, you know what, Allah, I know you have all these rules. I know that you're supposed to know what's best for me, but I don't feel like doing it, and so I'm not going to do it. This is the main issue that Iblis and Shaitan had, right? He knew that Allah gave him an order. He's ordered to do sujood to Adam, alayhi salam, and he didn't disagree. It's not like he misunderstood the order. It's not like he had a better idea. He just said, no, I don't feel like, I'm not going to do it. I don't like the way that this order sounds. I don't feel like doing it. Interesting, right? The Arabs, the same problem they had back then of sujood, the same one Iblis has too, right? No, I'm not going to do sujood to this clay thing. I'm not doing that, right? Ana khayrun minhum. I'm better than him. I'm made of fire, he's made of dirt. Why would I do sujood to something like that? No, it doesn't make sense. Sorry, Allah. Somebody, this creature that's been doing ibadah for centuries, some say thousands of years, all of a sudden one order, one hukm, one amr comes from Allah, he's like, no, I don't want to do it. So this is a big issue for a lot of us. So what wudu can reveal is how lazy and how arrogant we can become in the face of Allah in front of Him. When He orders us to do something and we start saying, you know what, it's not something I feel like doing. So this is the first test that we have to move past, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So that first level is what? Is that it reveals whether somebody will refuse to obey Allah even if they have the ilm and the knowledge. Okay, what's the next level? Some of us will obey. We say, no, I don't have a problem. I perform my wudu. No problem there. Okay, great. The problem is that they perform wudu, but this one is bila ilm. It's almost the exact opposite of the previous one. The previous level is somebody doesn't obey, but they have the knowledge. So that would be worse. This one is not great either, but it's not as bad as the previous level. It's they obey. They do ita'at. They obey Allah, but they do it without knowledge. Okay, what exactly does that mean? This doesn't mean that they refuse to perform wudu. It means that sometimes their wudu is deficient. It's incorrect. It's just wrong. They're not doing it properly. Many individuals, unfortunately, I'd say maybe this might be, if we're talking about the list of different problems that we have in our communities, this would probably rank number 2. We have one issue in certain demographics where they just don't want to practice at all. They don't want to follow any rules. They don't want to obey. Fine. But the next one is that amongst people who are practicing, the problem is that a lot of us are just performing things incorrectly. Our wudu could be incorrect. Our salah could be incorrect. The way that we read Quran, incorrect. We just make a lot of mistakes. And trust me, I've been to many communities. right? It's not like I'm super well traveled, but I've been enough to various different ethnic communities, those that are mixed, people that have that reverts and converts, those that are born Muslims, that are everything. I've been to all different places. Those with hundreds of people, thousands of people. I've been to all different types of centers all across North America. And you know what? Every single center, I'll be in their area where they perform wudu, the bathroom, the sink, whatever it is, and I'm looking and I see people, seasoned Muslims, so to speak, older Muslims, all performing their wudu incorrectly. It's happening constantly. So one of the things what is it revealing? One thing that this is now revealing is that people, Muslims, are repeating the mistakes that have been taught to them by their parents or their teachers or their forefathers. So what is this revealing now? It's revealing an obedience, but maybe to the wrong individuals. Rather than obeying Allah, now I'm obeying my parents or some other teacher that taught me how to do this. Now, there might be a good reason. A lot of us might not have a reason to question why, or think that, my wudu could be wrong. Most of us might not have the idea. But what it really reveals is this. Sometimes, at least in Farsi, they have this concept of ghalat mashhur. It's a mistake that has become famous that people just keep doing and repeating over and over and over again. That happens in cultures, right? Is because one person, a certain individual, generations ago, they made this mistake. Somebody saw them, and they just repeated that, and it kept going on, generation after generation after generation, and it reaches you and I, and we just keep repeating that same mistake, or we keep giving the wrong reasons, or something like that happens. Like one example I'll give, and again, maybe it's not apparent in this community, but this is how I grew up. When I was growing up, in our center, the majority of the Shias there were all muqalladeen of Sayyid Sistani, hafidhahullah. So over there, it was very normal for us to say that chess is haram. Now, we never learned that there were other maraji who said it was okay. We just learned, based on Sayyid Sistani, that it's haram, which is fine, not a big deal. But of course, what would happen is a lot of us would question, what's the problem here? What's the reasoning? Because other people would be playing it. People would say that this is a game that increases your intellectual effort and it's good for your mind and all these other kind of things. So naturally, people question it. They say, okay, but why would something that seems like it's good for you, why would it be haram? And what would many of our parents or elders or teachers say? Those who had been entrusted with our Islamic education, what would they say? They would say, the reason it's haram is because Yazid was playing the same game in front of the head of Imam Hussein. This is the reason that I heard when I was growing up. This is why chess is haram. It's like, oh, okay, fine. That's what we heard. It wasn't just from elders or teachers in the community. It was even from people who sat on the minbar. Maybe they didn't belong there, to be honest. But they sat on the minbar, on the pulpits, and they said the same thing too in open Q&As, that yes, the reason why we shouldn't be playing is because Yazid played it. It's like, oh, okay. And that's what I heard when I was growing up. Fine. Little did I know that that's not how Islamic fiqh works. Yazid doesn't just make something haram because he did it. That's not how it works. If that was the case, then trust me, poetry would be haram too, because Yazid, even by the words of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, was a good poet too. And he was reciting poetry constantly. Are we saying now that poetry is haram? No, obviously not. There's many things Yazid was doing. Do we take his sunnah as a way to determine what is haram? No, of course not. But some people, based on what they heard, they just repeated it over and over and over again until it sat in our minds. And to this day, I've met people in certain communities who still say the same thing. That's not how fiqh works. And they have to learn this, but that's not how it works, obviously. Now, this is just one example. There's many examples where we hear certain ideas, whether it's ahkam, whether it's theology, philosophy, akhlaq, so many things that have become very famous, which are what? Ghalati mashhur. Famous mistakes that have been made, which have become raya and just famous and widespread in our communities. How do we counter that? The only way to counter something like that is to actually be healthy, in a healthy state of skepticism, to actually be inquisitive and question things. Now, this is one of the other things that many of us might have grown up with too, where we were taught, don't question. This is something which is the most antithetical to Islamic teachings. Don't ask questions. Where? We're told from the beginning, "Utlub al-ilm walau bis-sin," right? Seek knowledge, even as far as China. Seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. This is like one of the basic things that all of us understand. But when sometimes we ask somebody about something, instead of that individual wanting to say, I don't know, or I'm not sure, what do they say? No, we can't ask these questions. And we allow that to happen for so many generations. And so many generations are broken because of that idea. They say, I had this question and somebody shut me down, so now I'm not interested in Islam anymore. I feel so bad for people like that. But so many people have become ex-Muslim or progressive Muslim or extremist Muslim just because in a Sunday school or a Saturday school in a madrasa, they asked a question and it wasn't answered properly. How sad is a situation like that? Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So what is this next level revealing? This wudu revealing. It's revealing that a lot of us, we are not studying. We're not going after ta'aleem and ta'allum. We're not engaging in Islamic education. If I was actually looking at the Tawbi al-Masail, the Risala, the book of law of my marja, then there's no way that I would be repeating the mistakes in fiqh or ahkam of my parents or forefathers. There's no way, because I would be reading it myself in the book. But how many actually pick up a book? And I'm telling you, it's not many. There's not many people who do that, even though that there's apps available now. There's apps, the whole app, right? An app is designed that has the whole Tawdi al-Masail on it, right? For Ayatul Sistani, it's there. I believe for Ayatul Khamenei, it's there too. Many maraji have these in many languages as well. There's even now AI models. I don't encourage them, but there are AI models that have these ahkam there too. So what excuse does somebody have? And it's funny, these same things that a person can just open up a book at and look, right? Table of contents or the index, they can find the ruling there fairly easily. They can open an app and even search there. So many easy ways. What do? They send me a WhatsApp message. Tell me, what's the ruling on this? Now, because I don't want to be a rude individual, I'll try to get them the answer. But in the back of my mind, to be honest, I'm like, why don't you just look it up yourself? You should be in the habit of that. It's that we don't want to put in any effort at all. Sometimes in our musalla, in our janama, sometimes people have all of these books of dua, right? Short du'as, mafatih, all these different books of recommended actions to do during salah. People keep all these. I've seen some people that have stacks and stacks of books, just, some printouts, whatever it is. I have very rarely seen somebody keep their Tawdi al-Masail in their musalla or their janamas, in their prayer mat. How nice would it be to set as a simple ada and a habit that, okay, after salah, maybe as I finish my tasbih, I might recite a recommended dua. That's all great. Maybe just open up to the Kitab al-Salah, Kitab al-Wudu, whatever, that section, and just go through one rule. Just so that I have yaqeen and certainty now that, this is actually the ruling of my marja, not just something that I heard generation after generation after generation. There's no harm there, obviously, and all it can do is offer us benefit. So why wouldn't we do something very simple? It doesn't take much time. Open it up, or look, if you don't want the book, fine. Most of us have our phones with us all the time, right? The app is there. Right after you're done with your wajib salah, just open up the app. Right? You can even bookmark that specific section on salah or on wudu. You open it up and see one ruling, and that's it, you're done. Look how easy that can be for us if only we start to actually put in the effort to do that. Right? So this is not the previous level and revelation of takabbur and ego, but it is a lower level of it. Only an egotistical person, even with some level of arrogance, is going to refuse to actually research these things. Because in the back of my mind, what am I thinking? I've been performing wudu for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I don't have to research it anymore. But imagine, do you and I want to go in front of Allah and for Him to say, your wudu for 40, 50 years has been incorrect every single time you've made it? And what would Allah say? It's like, what excuse did you have? Were you blind? Were you not able to see? Were you mute? You couldn't ask somebody? You didn't double check? What's the reason? Even those who are around the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam during the time of the Imams, they would double check their ahkam and their aqidah. They would come and write letters to the Imam, visit the Imam and say, look, this is how we perform wudu. This is how we perform salah. This is my aqidah. This is my understanding of tawheed. Can you check it for me? This is how they would do it. Why wouldn't we want to do the same thing? We should try to build that up as a habit. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The second thing that this also reveals, that wudu can reveal for us as well on another level, is not about the idea of not studying or not learning, not solidifying my Islamic knowledge. It also reveals, where do I get my knowledge from? So this easiest example here is what? Where did I learn wudu from? Now for some individuals, the question is a bit more of a deeper question about where do we get Islamic knowledge from? Right now we have all these different groups of Muslims that exist, these different sort of extreme groups, radical groups. Some of them exist that are these called Quraniyun, that it's Quran only, that's all we need. Hasbuna Kitab Allah. That's all we need is the Kitab of Allah, that's it. Right? Even some people back then said the same thing, right? That all we need is the Quran, it's the book of Allah, it's perfect, there's no errors. Of course, that's the case, fine. So you tell me now, you open up the Quran, you tell me how to perform wudu. And we go, right? Surah Al-Ma'idah, Surah 5, Ayah 6, right there in the beginning, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha kumtum ila salah. O mu'mineen, those who have iman, when you stand for salah, faghsilu wujuhakum. Do ghusl or ghasl of your face, wa aydiyakum ila al-marafiq. And wash or ghasl of your hands up until your elbows. Now right here, here's a question, right? Now this is where our major issue is with the Ahlul Sunnah. Because over there, one is that they're washing their whole head, obviously. And they're also, when they're washing their arms, they go up to down, right? Oh, sorry, they go down to up, where we're supposed to go the other way. In the ayah of Quran, if we're being honest to this, it's very difficult from the Arabic to show them the way that we do it. To say that it's saying going from elbow down is very difficult with the Arabic. Doesn't matter what understanding you have of the Arabic language, when you're saying وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ and your hands, or even if you think that yad means arms, fine, إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ to the elbows. That sounds like it's saying going from beginning to end over here. That's what it sounds like. That's what it reads like. So they might say, haha, that's what the Quran says. Like, okay, fine, but don't forget the first part said wash your face, wajh, it didn't say your whole head. Like, okay, so we can say haha to them as well too. Then you go to the next part, وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. Now, do muss and wipe your, your head. وَارْجُلَكُمْ إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ. And your feet up until the ankles. Now, over here we can say, look, see, وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ. That your feet up until that, that bone that comes out from your ankle. So see, they might say to us, see, look, it's telling you start from there, go up. That's what you guys do, right? Why aren't you doing the same thing for your arms? With the Quran, it's hard to argue that point, isn't it? So that's why we say, look, we don't solely rely on the Quran. We have the Ahlul Bayt that have explained specifically how you wash, when you wash, what direction does it have to go. You can't just wash like this. You have to go down, up to down. But that's from the riwayat. That's from seeing Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt explain all of this. And for the Ahlul Sunnah, it's the same thing too. Because for them to argue about washing the face and making it time and time again, year after year after year, constantly putting all this effort. And even after all of this research and effort, 50, 60, 70 years that have dedicated their life to this, still you see in their Ghusl al-Kharij, in their Ghusl al-Kharij, they sit there with those who are just learning the process of ijtihad, and they can be questioned too, and sometimes they change their minds. This is the humility that they have, which some of us we don't learn from. Our Malaji, our ulama, have this ultimate humility that they're willing to change and say, well, Allah, but you and I sometimes we're just so arrogant and say, I have a better decision, I can understand something that the mother doesn't understand. Amazing, right? How arrogant can you be about this? So this wudu then can also help us not just reveal the fact that we're not studying as much as we should, not learning as much, not solidifying and rechecking our knowledge. It's also showing us where am I truly relying on the Quran as the Quran has ordered us to follow the Ahlul Bayt, Rasulullah and Ahlul Bayt. Am I following the Ahlul Bayt as they have ordered me to follow the ulama and performance taqleed? Am I doing all of that or not? Or am I just making things up as I go along? So it's also revealing where do I actually get my knowledge from. And finally, when we look at the benefits and secrets, one last point that I want to mention before we move on to the Sifa. This last hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this speaks about the method of our wudu. Now, I know I mentioned before that it's possible that for many of us maybe the way we perform wudu isn't correct. Now, if we had time, if we had the ability to, then it would be good to have a quick little workshop and show. If we don't have the time, and again, we do too much work for you. The idea is that you go watch a video, or you go read a book, and then you can solidify it for yourself. But what I want to focus on is another part of the wudu where we might be making a big mistake error. And this hadith, Rasulullah is reported to have said, al-wudu mud, that the wudu is performed with one mud, a specific amount that Rasulullah has mentioned. And I'll go through the whole hadith, and I'll come back to the explanation itself. Wal-ghusl sa'. The ghusl is performed with a sa', which is also a specific measurement. سَيَأْتِي أَقْوَامٌ يَسْتَقِلُّونَ ذَلِكَ. There will be people that come in the future, individuals that will show up that will think that these amounts that are being mentioned here, one mud of water, or one sa' of water, is not enough water. Meaning people will overuse water. أولئك على خلاف السنة. These people will be against my sunnah, my word. And let me explain it a bit more. One mud, it's difficult to get an exact, precise number for this, but generally, our ulama say it's somewhere between 600 to maybe 750 milliliters of water. That's what we're talking about. Now, I know we're Americans, we work with that, right? So in ounces, we're talking about maybe 23 to maybe 26.5 ounces of water. That is one mud, meaning that's how much water at most should be used for wudu. Now, you might think, I don't know, I just turn on a faucet. I'm not counting ounces, what really does? Okay, so let me explain it for you. I don't know how many of you have bought faucets recently, and you use a contractor who will these things. Faucets, they have something on them called GPM. There's a rate of pressure that comes out. GPM stands for gallons per minute. Most of these faucets go between 1 to 2 GPM, 1 to 2 gallons per minute. When you turn it on, after 1 minute, either 1 or 2 gallons has been utilized. Okay, again, we talk about visualize, so let me put it back in ounces. That means in 1 minute, between 128 to 256 ounces has been poured. That's a lot. That's a lot. Okay, think about a gallon of water being poured, that's a lot of water being wasted. Which means every second, there's about 2 to 4 ounces of water that's coming in. And a lot of math we're going to just follow. So 2 to 4 ounces, we're talking about, we are trying to perform wudu with around 23 to maybe 26.5 ounces of water, but something like that. What does that mean? Our wudu in total, if we were to leave, let's say, the faucet on, should be under 30 seconds. Now, you're all looking at all your faces, you're like, how in the world could I perform wudu? That's telling us a problem right there. And again, I watch people perform wudu because I'm trying to, not because I'm looking and finding faults. Because it's happening, I'm in the bathroom, I'm seeing people perform wudu. I've been to many communities. The faucet is just on, it's running for 1, 2, 3 minutes just performing wudu. Gallons and gallons of water are being wasted like this. Rasulullah very clearly here saying what? This is the khilaf, this is against my sunnah. And he's already explained our rationalization too. He said, you're going to think that it's not enough water, that this 26 or 23 ounces of water is not enough. He said, you're going to think that. That's why you'll be wasting water like this. So our problem sometimes is not even just the ihram, it's that we do israf. We waste water like this. And we've tested other people. The average, even when people try to do it quicker, might still be 45 seconds to maybe a minute and a half. This is too much time that's being taken. I want to give you one quick tip, just a tip that you can try to practice inshallah, and then we move on to the masala inshallah. You can say salam. The tip is very simple. Do not leave the tap running. That's it. When you are performing, when you and I are performing wudu, do not just turn the tap and let it run constantly. The tap should be going on and off. So, when I first start off, let's just say you start off by washing your hands first, right? So typically, most of us perform most of the mustahabat, right? That's another thing that some of us don't know either. What is mustahab and what is wajib? Okay. Right? You turn on the faucet and take the amount of water you need. It shouldn't be very much. You turn on the faucet and then you begin just washing your hands like this. That's it. You don't need to leave it running. Now let's say you're done with that. Now you turn it back on, you take a little bit of water. You don't need much. Turn it off. And now start to move all that water across your face. Now again, I'm watching some people do this. I swear that their wudu seems like it's a ghusl. That's the way that they perform their wudu. The whole bathroom is wet now. Water's just flowing everywhere. This is not your splash pad, right? This is not supposed to happen. It's not a water park. The wudu is very, very simple. If you want to see what wudu looks like, look at these. There's many videos of ulama performing wudu. There's videos of my friend said Khuli. There's videos of Sayyid Sami, Allah performing wudu. They have this little bucket. A container, they put a small amount in their hand, that's how they use it. Small amounts. And even that extra water that comes down in that canister or that bucket, you see that they go use it for something else, so that no bit of water gets wasted. We even heard a story that some ulama, they would use these bottle caps, small little caps, pour water in there and use that. That's how they get to make wudu, so that no wastage was done. I know that sounds impossible for a lot of us, but it's possible, it can be done. Okay. So now, you turn it on, take the water, close it, now you just want to, that's it. That should be more than enough. If your hand is wet, you just have to move it around. It's not that you're constantly just spraying water over and over again. No. Just take the water, close it, then you wipe it. Now what? Turn it back on. You take each one of your muscles kind of thing, you take it to your right, and you close it. You put that to the left, and then you use that too. Go like this. And you're just moving the water around. That's all you have to do. Okay, next. Turn it on again, grab it with my right hand, turn it off. And then I move on to the next one. Now, I have to say this next one too. This is going to be very important. So after that, obviously that's when I can quickly wipe and head and feet. Now, what is one of the other problems of being on the faucet? So what happens is that, let's say the faucet now is running the whole time. So I've been taking, the faucet's running, water's coming down, I have not taken water, it's still running, I wipe my left arm. What do people do at this point? Some of them, that's when they turn it off. Now, if you turn it off, there's a pretty good chance that there's some extra water on that faucet. So now you just put extra water on your hand by turning off the faucet, and now you're using that extra water and putting it, wiping, you're doing musk of your head and your feet. What happens to you? You just ruin your wudu. In an attempt to turn off the water and save it, you just ruin your wudu in the process. And what happens? If you just turn it off before you wipe your hand, then you don't have that problem anymore, right? I hope that point was clear and makes sense, John, right? Turning on and off will give very, very little wastage. This is a way that we should be trying to perform. Now again, there's other adab involved as well, trying to perform wudu in the direction of qibla. There's all these mustahabat, but I don't want to go through already over time anyway. But these are just some things for you and I to keep in mind. Now, to be honest, you and I shouldn't need any of these riwayat. We shouldn't need to hear about wastage of water. We shouldn't need these reminders. This should never be what motivates you and I to conserve and not waste water. All of us who are lovers of the Ahlul Bayt, who are here on nights like these, commemorating Shuhada Karbala, how can any of us claim that we don't know real value of water. The minute any of us think about these children in Karbala crying, and you and I have the audacity to waste water like this, it's not right. How is it that I can think about Ruqayya, think about Abdullah Nabi, think about their thirst, and still allow myself to waste water, whether in room or throwing water bottles away, whatever it is? How could any Shia ever do something like this? That same water was kept away from all these individuals, these children. That same water that Abbas gave his life to go and grab just one drop for these children. This is that same water that you and I need to reflect on. Sometimes we don't understand how much this water became a source of torment for the people, the Ahl in Karbala, on Ashura. So much so that one of these reports indicates that on Sham al-Imam, on that night after all the men had become shaheed and given their lives, after Zainab had taken everyone and brought them out of these tents that had now been burned down, after everyone at nighttime is outside of these tents, after their ribah and their clothing was stolen from them, after all this pain and torment and torture, now the enemies, they come and they see these children, they see the women, they see Imam Sajjad laying down, this sick, Mareed, Imams laying down like this, and they wanted to increase that pain, torment, and torture in the hearts of everyone. You know what some even Sunni historians report? They say that these enemy soldiers, what they would do is they would go up to the children. They would take their own bottles of water, their containers of water, and they would shake it and taunt the children like this. They would show the children, look, we have water and you don't. You're so thirsty and we have water. They would go and give water to their animals. They would drink this water and splash it in front of them just to see the crying of the children in front of them. This is why you and I cannot be wasting water like this.
Imam-e Huda in Chirag-e Hidayat طریق ولایت همه هستیم یبن زهرا فدایت همه هستیم یبن زهرا فدایت بهشتم بود صحنه کربلایت بهشتم بود صحنه کربلایت حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا گره خورده بر عشق پاکندلم شد غم تو سرشته به آب و گلم شد اگر من شدم سینه زن شک ندارم دعای تو مادر شاملم شد حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا 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 نمای ملک بیان غم تو نمای ملک بیان غم تو به گل برگ دل رشته شبنم تو الهی که هستی تو عشق حقیقی شروع دلم گریه ماتمت شد حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا غریبی شبیه تو چشمی ندیده غریبی شبیه تو چشمی ندیده لب تشنه بود و سرد شد بریده لب تشنه بود و سرد شد بریده حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا ز قتل جهت تا دم صبح محشر ز قتل جهت تا دم صبح محشر رسد ناله مادری غم خمیده رسد ناله مادری غم خمیده حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا عزیز دلم از چه تابت ندادم چرا پس از آن کفر نابت ندادم چرا عده‌ای بی بصیرت به گودان لب تشنه کشتند و آبت ندادم حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا قلب فلک از غمت تیر غم خود به قلب فلک از غمت تیر غم خود بسی صحنه‌های جنایت رقم خود به پیش دو چشم پر از خون زینب به پیش دو چشم پر از خون زینب لبانت چنان چوب خشکی به هم خود حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا 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 امام خدا ای چراغ هدایت امام خدا ای چراغ هدایت نجات همه در طریق ولایت نجات همه در طریق ولایت همه هستیم یبن زهرا فدایت همه هستیم یبن زهرا فدایت بهشتم بود صحنه کربلایت بهشتم بود صحنه کربلایت حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یبن زهرا
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
يا حبيبي يا حسين نور عيني يا حسين
يا حبيبي يا حسين نور عيني
علي يا مهر حسين زينة القوم على الراس وتنادي يا مهر حسين اسمعها قلبي الميدان خيالك تقام طاوين خيالك تقام طاوين لزمت بيها الجامع وقامت تفن وتنشد مالك تسحب عنانك وعنك ما إلى العد يا مقدر وين أخويا حسين يا مقدر وين
أخويا حسين
خليته الشهر وحده إيش عنده بقبالي وتتهضم على حالي تراك مردد دلالي تراك مردد دلالي اسمع بالمعار يصيح والعسكر وزع صوبين من شفتك علي مجبل قلبي خمس والطيار اسمعك تصهل وتعود لكن بالحالي للشر سولف لي أخي وين عنك ودعوة قنطر امشي ويا عايد الديني ولعند حسين وديني امشي ويا عايد الديني
عند حسين وديني
امشي ويا عايد الديني
عند حسين وديني
ايش مالك ما تحاشي ايش مالك ما تحاشي تذوق بحقيرك يمي وشابح للأيام بالعين يا مهر حسين حاشيني يا مهر حسين
حاشيني
قاصدها ايام ليها ولاسرارك زين ظلت تحشمها بين اخيها غير الحرام والرضعان غير الحرام والرضعان ما تمهل خيلة بيها بس واحد فوقها وجعان جسمه من النار نحلان وابوه خطة الميدان علينا رفعت اخبار وتخفف هدف يمنا وتفرهد عز العالينا خذنا وياك للميدان وهلعنا حسين دلينا وهلعنا
حسين دلينا وعلى حسين دلينا
وكل حرام تبعنا وبيها نبالي يتعنى اسم عن من بعد ونا وصوتي يصيح يا زينب وصوتي
يصيح يا زينب وصوتي يصيح يا زينب
وصوتي يصيح يا زينب يا اختي طالعة لي وين يا اختي
طالعة لي وين
سمعت زينب ورقدت سمعت زينب
ورقدت
وقامت تطلب النسوان لما وصلن الحومة لقينا موسد التربان لقينا موسد التربان يلوج من العطش ويصيح يلوج من العطش
ويصيح
وحق جد النبي عطشان
وحق جد النبي عطشان
وحق
جد النبي عطشان
يا هالوادم ويرحموني شربة مي يسقوني بعد ما شفوا في عيوني وقامت على وجه تلطم وقامت على
وجه تلطم
وتخمس يا نبي الخدين وتخمس يا نبي الخدين تدنس يا نبي وقامت تجري
علو يا
تدنس يا نبي وقامت تجري بروح الصدر لأنها شوف المثلث لأنها شوف
المثلث
يطالع من حرز ظهره يطالع من حرز ظهره قامت على وجه تلطم قامت على وجه تلطم وتسجد زينب العبرة وتسجد زينب العبرة تقلوي قلبي عليك تقلوي
قلبي عليك
يا خويا سهم ماضي يا خويا
سهم ماضي
تلوج على اثار ايديك وهو اللي بيقطع حيلك وجاسم جديتك نصين
سهم وشد
لأن الشمر يا كرم إلى زمر وفريدا ولما الوصل قامت يه ولما الوصل قامت يه وتتوسل يا حيدر بيه
تتوسل يا حيدر بيه
تجيها الحرام خليها فيما تنبي تتصالم تحط سيفك يا مقدر وين
علويا
زينب من الخيمة طلعت بيديها زينب من الخيمة طلعت بيديها جود ونخت راعد علم عليها لم قمرها شفعوني شماليها وبجف الراية المنشورة
بجف الراية منشورة
وبجف
الراية المنشورة بجف الراية المنشورة
نادت يا بن ميردنا حيا مشكر
يا علي
يا علي
نادت يا بن ميردنا حيا مشكر مشحون وادي كربلاء من العسكر مدرش تريد لقيومها تتكاثر جيمان الكوفة الغدارة
جيمان الكوفة الغدارة
جيمان الكوفة الغدارة
جيمان الكوفة الغدارة
ناداها يا اختي لا يهمك هالقوم ما دامنت متكفلك والملزوم وانا بن عودك بالحرايق معلوم يوم الكون تعرفوني
يوم الكون تعرفوني
يوم الكون تعرفوني
يوم الكون تعرفوني
نادت فلاحة بالخطر بوجودك
يا علي حيدار
يا علي
حيدار
يا علي
حيدار
يا علي
نادت فلاحة بالخطر بوجودك مأمون قلبك يا ابني بوجه بزودك أدريك حاول ما يجيلك من عودك يا سور المانع يا هيبة صلوات
احسنت
معجون ان شاء الله
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا سيد الشهداء بكربلاء يا أبا عبد الله، السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين، السلام عليكم أئمة المعصومين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد موسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا حجة الطاهر بن حسن المهدي ولنا صاحب رسول الزمان الأمان 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 عجل الله تعالى فرجه وسهل الله مخرجه وظهره وجعل من خير أعوانه وأنصاره وشيعه والمستشهدين بين يديه. السلام عليكم جميعا معصومين والأنبياء والمرسلين ورحمة
محمد